If you're new to wedding photography and you have a wedding coming up and you're curious about your settings and composition, lens choices and cameras, this video is going to help you out. My name is John from John Branch for Photography, and in this video, we're gonna cover the most common sections of a wedding day, from getting ready, portraits, ceremony, and your detail shots. We'll also talk about lens choices, body choices, composition, posing, and so much more. It was probably my third wedding, and I'm in the room with the bride and the mother of the bride, and we're all hanging out, and I'm trying to hang the dress, and I'm not the tallest guy. And I'm like reaching for a spot and just drop the dress. And I was like, no. And the mom watched me drop it and everything. So generally when I start my wedding days, we're starting out with our detail photos. These are things that is gonna be like the groom's tux or suit, his shoes, tie, and any other details he has like cufflinks, cologne, a vow book. We're also doing the same thing for our bride as well. One of the biggest ones is gonna be our dress shot, which we will hang the dress somewhere and take a photo of that. Also the flat lay, which is the same rings, shoes, veil. The dress shot is something you wanna be able to get done quick. It shouldn't take you that long. That's why, again, for my situation, I opt for the window because it's gonna work and it's gonna look good and it's gonna be fast.
Risking our whole lives for the photo.
So while I already knew this was gonna hold, if you're ever hanging a dress, make sure you double check whatever you're hanging it on before you let the whole weight of the dress hang on it, because dresses are pretty heavy. So let's see how this looks. So right now I still have my 55 and my 80 on. And I usually like to switch between the two for my shots. I'll start out with the 55, which is the wider lens, or 35mm equivalent, give or take. Once I take a shot with a 35, I switch over to a 50. My 80mm is about equivalent to a 50. I'll take a nice vertical shot. So I'm gonna set up a single light here to fight the window light just a bit. On my flash, I have the Max Sphere. And I also have a grid. So this is gonna direct my light to shoot out further in a single beam rather than out. And then this will help fill in the edges a little bit. So it's coming out more, a little bit of fill. It's the same thing this time, but with a flash. And this time we're gonna expose for the outside. So the GFX 100S2 and GFX 100-2 sync speed is 1/125. We'll take a couple more shots with my 80. Yeah, so now I have two versions, a natural light and a flash version, just in case. That's why I always joke, if you're not risking your life, you're not really taking good wedding photos. So I'm gonna take some detail shots. One tip, I usually like to have the rings together with the bride. That way I can take that photo of them all together with her flat lay rather than with the groom. Stereotypically, groomsmen don't really have a lot of details, so it just makes sense to do it with the bride's flat lay. So this is our flat lay. This is what we'll typically do with the details for our wedding day. You normally will have an invitation suite, and then you can add other things too, like your shoes, vow books, rings, so on and so forth. Now, a couple of tips for your flat lay to start out is you want to buy yourself some risers. This way you can raise up certain parts of the flat lay and give more depth to your flat lay. You can see here the main invitation in the center is sitting up higher, and that allows me to put things under it as well. When you're making your flat lay, you want to think about the weight of the flat lay area. You don't want one side too heavy compared to the other side. You can see in this flat lay, it's a nice vertical laid, weighted kind of flat lay. I also have some extra flowers, and another tip is you can use the Groom's boutonnieres. This is going to be easier than asking the florist for scrap flowers. Also, this little knee pad is very helpful. You might want to get something like this because if you're down on your knees, a lot of times you'll have your flat lay on the floor, so it is helpful to save your knees as we age out in wedding photography. I'm going to shoot this with my X-T5, and I'm using the 16-55 f2.82. Now, this is going to allow me to get the shots I need very quickly because I'm going to be switching between wide and tight for all of these shots. And I'm also going to hybrid shoot and get some video as well. One nice thing about the X-T5 is there's a quick switch to switch to video. I have an ND filter here, so I can get some nice 60 FPS video, and I can include this when I deliver it to my couple, just something extra for them to have. So to start out, I'm gonna stop down on my aperture. We're gonna go to, let's say f4.5. Now again, the main reason I'm doing this is because we have depth in our flat lay and we want everything to be sharp. I'm at f4.5. This should give me a nice sharp photo all the way across. I'm gonna start taking photos of this flat lay. Again, I'm using my zoom lens because it gives me versatility while I'm taking my photos. I'm gonna start out with a wide horizontal shot, and then I'll also be taking vertical shots as well. Now, I highly recommend using your guides when you're taking flat lay photos, because if it's not straight, you're not gonna be able to fix it in post. Then after I get my wides, I will zoom in and start getting my close-ups. Make sure to take horizontal and vertical shots. And take it for every piece in your flat lay. And then I also like to take my shots at an angle. So I'll come here, take a quick angled shot as well. I try my best to use natural light for these photos. This should be a pretty quick process too. This is not something you want to take 50 years on. Make your flat lay very quickly, make it look nice, quick and easy, get it done. Take shots of everything horizontal and vertical, and you're good to go. Another detail you're typically gonna get on a wedding day is gonna be the cake. Wait until the cake is ready and done and set up, and go ahead and take those photos as soon as possible. I personally like taking those shots natural lit, but if it's too dark and there's not enough contrast, then I will add a little bit of light to it. Right now, this actually has the exact kind of lighting contrast we need, which is light kind of touching the back end of it, giving us a nice kind of shadow. So you want to take a wide shot and then also tight shots. And if you've seen the theme, I shoot all my details like that. Start wide first and then start getting in tight. I'm actually going to start out with the 16-55 just so I can get the whole range of everything I need without having to do too much. Starting out wide, I'll probably go into about 23 mil. And again, dealing with still life, I can drop my shutter if I need to for extra light. We're taking horizontal and vertical shots. After our wides, we push in and get a tighter shot. Then I start focusing on the details of the cake. Sometimes you'll have a cake topper with their names on it or something, so I'll usually get that. Then I also like to take a side angle and get the flowers or any other decorations on the cake. I'm also going to do the same thing with my 56 f1.2 just so I can get the background really blown out. However, with this, I'm not going to be getting a super wide shot, more so just the tighter shots. One thing you might notice with the details is the candles are actually not lit yet. And what I would highly suggest to you, if for some reason during your wedding day, you have a chance to take the detail shots because the tables are done, but the candles aren't lit, go ahead and take those photos. It's better to have something than to wait for the candles to be lit. So generally, when we're doing our detail shots, I like a combination of a very wide lens, something like a 24 mil, and then something closer like a 50 or 85. Because you're gonna be swapping between the two views, very close or very wide. Again, a zoom lens is gonna be great for that. So again, like the 16 to 55-2 on the X-T5, or even the 32 to 64 on the GFX is gonna be a great choice, because you don't have to flip-flop between both your cameras the whole time, and you get those wider shots without having to push back too much. Generally, when you have a whole reception room put together, you wanna start out with a wide shot. This is gonna be nobody in the room, none of the servers, nobody running around at all, just the room itself. Then from there, move into your tables. I have my 32 to 64, and I'm gonna use that starting out with the wider shot. So obviously starting at 32, and I'll take a wider shot of the whole table. So this is gonna be an angle shot. And then I'm also gonna do a full table wide shot. I'm gonna come here to the front, get like long down the table, still shooting this fairly wide. And then I normally like to get an angle kind of like of the tables and the chairs at the same, like a kind of side angle. Once I've done my wider shots, then I'll start pushing in on the details. So for that, I'm using my 80 1.7. And the luxury you have when you're shooting still life is the fact that I can drop my shutter. So again, if I have IBIS, I can go down to 1/125, 1/60 if you have steady hands. Another reason why I love using these 1.7 lenses on the details is it absolutely blows out the background. Gives you that nice blurry background on your shots, especially when you're close up. So we'll do the same for the flowers as well. Some of the table settings, so we have plates with names on them, so I'll normally come by and get like a angle shot with the names and the flowers. I'm a huge fan of the tilt screen, huge fan. Mainly because of the speed it gives me on a wedding day. I can easily shoot down if I need to by flipping it out, or any kind of direction I need to with a quick flip, rather than having to pull the screen out and turn it around. After I get all those detail shots, then I can start moving into my getting ready photos of everyone getting into their clothes for the wedding day. So generally when I'm doing my getting ready shots with makeup, the biggest thing you'll want to do is stay out of the way of your makeup artist. Let them work, try not to move them around too much or anything, and just take your photos while they're working. So generally when I'm shooting my makeup shots too, I like to use my prime lenses for this. A lot of the times I'm in a location where it's gonna be a little bit darker, a hotel room, and we don't have great light. So right now on my GFX 100S2, I am using the 55 f1.7. I like its wide open aperture as well as that 55 focal length makes for great close-up shots, as well as stepping back and getting a little bit of wider shots as well. Again, with the two bodies, I'm actually using the GFX 102 here, and I have the 81.7, and these will be for my more close-up shots, like shots of hands or the rings or anything that's going on that I can see around the room. Lips getting applied with makeup, things like that. And then I'll pan back and get something wider and kind of get the area. Also, this is a great way to get photos of your makeup artist so that they have stuff they can use for their website or their social media as well. So something that happens on a lot of wedding days are first looks. This is where your couple will see each other before the ceremony. These are very important and you can pull them off by yourself, but you have to be very strategic in how you handle the first look. So I'm gonna be shooting with a wider lens. I have my 32 to 64 here, and I also have a tighter lens, which is my 81.7. This is gonna be capturing the groom's reaction. There you go, so just walk up kind of nice and slow like you were before. A little bit of a smile. Awesome, that's perfect. Yeah, so generally when it comes to composing, especially for my couple photos and the solos, I do like a good center framing. However, rule of thirds every now and then, we'll get those in there as well. And again, think about your shots from what it is you're getting and what you're putting together rather than following all the rules. So I'll center focus and center compose and then switch to a rule of thirds and then switch to a close and then a wide. All of those count as 4 different photos, not just one, even if it's the same pose. Think about how am I composing? So we got wider center shot, so I'm gonna move in a little bit closer. I'm gonna get some details. If you could look over to your right. I love the background separation on the GFX system. It's just so good. Yep, keep holding that for me. So here's a common scenario that you're gonna deal with on your wedding days. Let's say everything ran over. Your ceremony went long, now you're doing your couple portraits and there's not a lot of time left. Let's look at taking portraits when we don't have too much time, what we wanna get very quickly. So Aaliyah, you're always gonna be on my right side for the most part, because when y'all are facing each other, your ring hand will face me. Whenever you're photographing your couple, make sure you get a couple shots with the dress all the way laid out. Definitely don't miss this. This will be my 32 to 64. Another reason why I'm switching to this is I won't have to swap my lenses out so much. So generally, I love to start out with a nice chest to chest because it kind of opens your couple up. Sometimes they're a little nervous, and especially if you haven't done an engagement session with them yet, they can be a little nervous and shaky. Chest to chest is like the tried and true pose. It's easy to pull off. And then again, while they're there, I had my close shots, same thing again. Now here's a wider shot of the same thing. I'm in an area that may not be the prettiest in the world. So what I love about photography is kind of taking things out of contrast and finding what I can to use. So thinking more how a camera looks rather than what you see and go, oh, it's a back alley, it doesn't look great. So let's come over this way. And the one thing I really like back here is I like this red brick and I like this green across the red brick. One pose I always love is groom with back on the wall. Always check your walls before you have someone put their back on it, if it's dirty or not. And then Aaliyah, if you could for me, I'm gonna have you come over here and kind of like this. Give me a little leg too. Something else I'm a huge fan of is always show your couples their poses. Now again, this area is not the best, but I have isolated it now to this red wall and this greenery, which I love. I'm actually gonna shoot it very wide. I love a nice wide shot where my couple is like small in the frame. Yep, yeah, bring your head down kinda. Yeah, beautiful. It's perfect. Drew, kinda almost like look over at her a little bit, just like that. I wanna shoot this with one of my widest lenses. Right now I'm using the 32 to 64 f4. For my settings, it's a little bright. However, f4 gives me that range where it's not too bright and it's gonna be sharp. So I'm shooting it wide open. ISO is at 200, because again, we have nice light. And my shutter speed's at 400, which is giving me enough light as well as stopping my couple. After I've taken my wide shots, we still have this nice clean wall so I can punch in for something closer. Beautiful. There's 2 approaches to harsh lighting. You can hide from it, which is personally what I'm doing right now. And I'm trying my best to find shade. The only other option outside of that is to actually use flashes and strobes to kind of fight the lighting. But fighting shade is gonna be your quickest answer. So if y'all can chest to chest real quick. So I took the same pose on the wall and now I just switched it. That's perfect. Yeah, beautiful smiles, that's perfect. And then y'all look at each other. There it is, perfect. Stay like that for me. And so again, I've gotten 2 quick poses out of this one area. One thing I absolutely love to do as well on my wedding days, and I feel like I missed photos if I don't do it, are solo shots of both my groom and bride. I'm gonna swap back to my 55 f1.7 just so I can get those nice blurry separated backgrounds on all the pictures. And we're gonna start out kind of full body. That's perfect. Switching to my 80 for my close shots. After you've gotten your full body shots, you start focusing on details. So here's groom, ring, and watch. Then we do groom boutonniere. All details will be horizontal and vertical. Yep, so start out looking at each other, perfect. And then look in opposite directions again. Oh, the sun came out. This is what we were just talking about. A lot of times if you have to do it direct light, especially like on the beach, there's nothing you can do, right? A lot of times I want to face into the light so that my shadows are behind, kind of like what you're seeing on me right now. If y'all can see, we have nice kind of side lighting, nice shadows on the side, and we can deal with that, that's fine. So I'm gonna shoot this starting out with my 80, and it is gonna blow away the background. You won't be able to see it. That's perfect. Awesome. So again, this will be kind of harsh light. We can deal with it in post. But again, if you can direct light and side light, it usually works out. For our ceremony, we have a elopement style ceremony or an intimate wedding. And we're starting to lose a little bit of light in here. We also have our couple in front of a window. Because of this, I decided to set up some off-camera flash. So I have 2 flashes pointing in almost at an X at my ceremony area. This way I can fill them in with a little bit of flash. Also, I'm gonna be triggering those flashes with my flash on camera, which will also give some fill. I'm doing very low power for all the flashes because it's not super dark. I just wanna fill them in just a little bit. One of the easiest ways to accomplish a ceremony is using something like a zoom lens. That's why right now I have on my 16 to 55 too. This way I can get my nice wide shots and also punch in for tighter shots. And I really don't have to switch between my lenses too often. I am using my 56-1.2 on this camera just to get a nice blown out background. Generally when you're down the middle, you're getting wide shots and then close-ups, kind of like chest up. And then for your side vowel shots, you're also gonna be doing chest up to get those reactions and really get to look on everyone's faces. And I usually do this vice versa of their vows. So when the bride's giving her vows, I go to the groom. When the groom's giving his vows, I go to the bride. Once vows are over, you normally come to the middle. I love to get a tight shot of the hands together. And then I also will do a wide shot. Personally, I like a tighter lens, but a wider shot. So I will back up with my tighter lens. I'm generally shooting around anywhere between 3 and 5 frames a second. However, when I get to the first kiss, I do like to switch to high burst mode and take as many photos as possible. So I have a little setting here where I can switch to high shutter and I'll burst through the whole first kiss. So when it comes to guests blocking your shots, especially down the aisle, which will happen, personally, I either will do Photoshop AI removal which is so nice that we have that now because we didn't barely even 5 years ago. However, if it's really egregious and they're just literally stepping in the aisle, or your Uncle Bob has his camera and he's stepping in front of you, I will tap them on the shoulder and ask them to move. Again, as a wedding photographer, it is our job to get our couples good photos. Our couples paid for those photos, and I don't care who it is blocking my shot, they will know about it. Because at the end of the day, if you don't say anything and you get those photos back to your couple, they will come at you. So now that our couple has had their first kiss, they're going to walk back down the aisle. There's a couple approaches you can take here. So one approach is how I like to do it, which is a wider lens. So my 16 to 55 is perfect for that. I'll shoot it at 16. And I like to get close to the couple as they're walking out and walk back out with them to get those shots. I like the wider shot close up like that because you get a real good look at like the rest of the guests and everything around them. However, keep in mind if you're gonna shoot like this, you can block the videographer depending on how they're shooting. If your videographer is using a gimbal or handheld, this works out. Y'all can be shoulder to shoulder and push back together. If they're not, don't do this because you're gonna block them. And no one wants to block a shot. So if your videographer is shooting long, shoot long with them and just continuous autofocus as the couple comes out. But generally what I like to do is come up close. We do high shutter, zone autofocus, continuous autofocus. I'll have y'all hold hands in the center and you're gonna walk out just like, yay, and go ahead. Yeah, there you go. Keep coming. That's perfect. And then you can just walk past me. I hope you all enjoyed this look at a wedding day in different wedding scenarios. It was a lot of fun to shoot, and honestly, that's why I've been a wedding photographer for over 10 years now. I can't get enough of wedding photography, and I hope you all feel the same. We went through different gear you can use on your wedding day, different scenarios that you'll normally deal with on a wedding day, as well as settings and so much more. And next up, we'll be talking about zoom versus prime lenses, as well as the backup process and editing process for your photos. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next episode.